Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I'm delighted to be joined by director Kevin Kimball with his fantastic film Coming Home. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip.
You getting enough sleep, Danny?
Yeah. You know, it's just a weird feeling, sir, you know? I mean, I'm excited about going home and all, but at the same time, I'm terrified.
Kevin, thank you for joining us. And thank you for being here. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Well, we got to use the Cinerover Mark II by a guy named Tony Foresta, retired Hollywood guy, still out. He happens to live in where we work. But we got to use this and we brought him early on. He liked our project from the get-go, read the first couple of drafts of the script, came into our table read, and he said that the movie Coming Home is essentially just a story about someone doing the right thing. That it's not necessarily a military movie, even though everyone's in uniform and whatnot, but it's a human story. And his thing was just, it's a guy doing the right thing. So I really think that encapsulates the idea of coming home. It's two guys coming home from downrange, essentially, but it's them doing the right thing. And without giving anything away, that's basically how I'd sum it up at this point.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because I feel that, yes, as you mentioned, obviously they are on a uniform and they all have served, but there's just such a kind of humanist, story there that almost could be relatable to many different kind of circumstances as well. I found it amazingly relatable to many different situations that we may come into life. Obviously, from hearing from what you just said, that was kind of something that was important to the story, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like Tony himself, he's an old Marine. Myself, obviously, a little bit of a vet. I did a decade in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Robert, who plays the dad in the movie, he literally just got home right before our auditions from a naval deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And we had several vets involved in the project. Most of our money came from other veterans.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the number one thing I take pride on to this point is our biggest audience has been military members or veterans, and they all appreciate it. They've all loved it so far. And I made it for them. It's kind of my love letter to guys I've served with, guys and gals. I say guys ambiguously. But people I never served with have since seen the movie and just reached out and said, man, this right here, you nailed this, from the scene where they stand in the grass for the first time after several months away to the line about, is there any place you can't sleep? Yeah, my own bed. Because we've all felt that, and that's where my strongest pride in the project comes from, in all honesty, is just the feedback from the veterans who say, you got this right. And they don't care about the technical. Yeah. We have technical mistakes. It's not perfect. I'm not going to pretend it is, but they see past it and they appreciate that story that was within it, so.
I'm speaking from, perspective of an audience that don't know this, but I think that there seems to be such a special relationship, friendship, the people that you served with, that is such a special relationship? And I know it's probably hard to describe, but how does that feel, the people that you serve with? How does that differ? Because it just feels like this connection you have with each other is just so unique and so different to anything else that hasn't served. You can't possibly imagine, really, to be honest.
Well, so writing Coming Home, it was not only was I trying to do right by the vets, but I did want to try to give that window to an audience to see the real side, if that makes any sense. Too often in movies now, you see not everyone's a badass. I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss or not, but not everyone is a badass in the military. Most of us are, playing grab ass in the back. Like it's pranksters, jokesters, everybody is just a character. Which that actually sounds quite poignant now that I hear it out loud. But yeah, so it's, most of the military, you equate it to college, a lot of the military guys, they join at 18. They never went to college. So they're college friends that you normally make in that age range, you're now making, but you're wearing a uniform at the time, So, I mean, I guess that's the best way I could describe it as far as the interpersonal relationships. But then, every deployment I've been on, I've made a lifelong friend from. Even though we may work in the same unit, we may not be on the same shift. I worked nights for most of my 10 years in. I never saw the day shift guys, not too often. And those not in my shop, I definitely didn't know. But then we'd go down range, and now I'm spending, 14 hours a day with these guys. I'm going to the gym with them afterwards. I'm racked up next to them. It's like you do start, developing relationships with them. And by the time you come home, it's like, you're my brother. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, or sister, or, but I mean,
Well, I mean, it's like you say, it's the age, also the age where you're grown as a human being as well, but you're in these very unique circumstances, and you're all growing together in this incredible environment that is so different from what a lot of people will ever experience. And the closeness, just it looks powerful. And I think the relationship you showed with these characters, like I was just like, wow. I was like, wow, I wish I had a friendship like this. Like, it was so beautiful and powerful to see on screen. I know obviously this was kind of almost like a love letter to your people you serve with, but in terms of production, you also shot this in an amazing space. Let's say that. It was incredible to see a short film being made in this space. And so I'm just curious for you, what were some of the kind of trials and tribulations of your production, and how was that experience for you?
Well, we set out with a loftier goal than we probably should have as far as raising money. We missed that by about 10 grand. We were really, really anxious about shooting at an airport. And we went back and forth with like the Florida Film Commission, because their website said, you can rent this space for X number of dollars. And we're sitting there, there's no way it's going to be that cheap, but let's approach them. And they came back with, we have nothing to do with the airport. And we're like, but it's in the Florida Film Commission. You guys do the Daytona airport. So they came back again. Oh, yeah, you're right. That is us.
Oh.
So then it was a couple more weeks of them going back and forth with the airport, trying to figure stuff out. And then they passed us through to the airport directly, cut out the middleman altogether. And when we told them what the project was and what we wanted to do, they said, yeah, come on in. It's all yours. The only thing we really had to pay for was the catering. So they were absolutely amazing. Before COVID hit, they were all about doing a red carpet premiere with everyone at the airport. I mean, they were just so gung-ho about it. It was amazing. So our biggest worry of the whole process turned out to be the easiest worry of the whole process.
That's amazing. I mean, I think, that's something we don't really talk about as much in filmmaking. I think, again, there's a big fear of some things that, of course you're making a very great story, and it's a celebration of something that is extremely important. But the fact is, we don't, unless we ask, we don't know. And sometimes we're in fear of like these locations, and actually they could be available, and no one's going to use it. They were, and in fact they weren't even used. So you had to kind of go through other avenues and end up going directly through the airport. I mean, that's amazing. I love that you got support from the airport. Well done, Tatono, is amazing. Well, that's fantastic. Was there? I mean, shooting at the airport though, was that? I mean,
that was very, very interesting. The whole movie was essentially shot in sequence.
Yeah.
Scene 1, scene 2, scene 3 in order the entire way through. Other than a couple of things we picked up here and there, we did have to reshoot the walk down the corridor, the very opening of the movie. That was done later in the first day, or actually that was the second day. I lie. But the Daytona International Airport, we shot the day after the Daytona 500 races.
Oh my goodness.
So they were busy on the other side of the terminal, like literally right across it. They gave us an entire, what do you call it, terminal there to ourselves.
Wow.
But the other one on the other side of us was full on go, 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 go. So, I mean, we were obviously pausing for sound because airplanes were coming in. But the very first scene we shot with dialogue, me and Fran, the Billy Badass veteran who, the first thank you for your service statement. Well, we were doing that, and you see it in the film too, where we're completely kind of cheated out because we had an audience there. The people that were waiting for their plane had moved their chairs up and were lined up behind the camera, and everyone was just watching to see what was going on. So me and Fran, who both have theater backgrounds, find ourselves cheating out and, delivering everything kind of stage-esque, which is a big no-no for film, but that energy, you couldn't hide it necessarily. And they're all so curious and want to see what's going on. Half of the background actors, I don't think any of them made it into it, but we were having NDA signed, or not NDAs, permission to be in the movie type deal, that stuff, because people were coming in and sitting down in our terminal. You have to explain them like, no, you see, we're making a movie. You're going to be in a movie if you sit here. Well, sign me up. I want to be in a movie. That's great. So.
Oh, this is cool. Kevin, that's what a great, I mean, this has got to be one of the most unique film experiences you've had, right?
By a lot. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of film experience. This was my second thing I've written, directed, and the first one was a student film. So you can imagine how good that was.
I mean, because I mean, it's, again, I think this is, again, I love that it had a kind of community feel to it in the end and was an important part. I mean, the airport got involved and they were so accommodating, and even the people getting their planes, like this is the stuff of dreams, really. And I'm sure once people knew the context of the film, they were even more interested to get involved as well.
Yes.
In terms of the actual performances, like, thank you for your performance. But I'm like, I was just locked in it. I was locked in it. It was, I just really enjoyed the world you took us in, the people you gave us, the characters.
I'll tell you what I've told all of my buddies who have watched the movie. I apologize that you had to sit through 22 minutes of my acting.
No,
I am rusty.
No,
so uncomfortable. Joey talked me into it from the get-go, but I apologize. But thank you for the kind words anyway.
No, it was great. I honestly, it was great. I was kind of lost in it, and I love being lost in a film where I'm just in it because I'm just involved in these characters. And so you certainly did that. How difficult is it being in front and behind? That's what I'm curious. Like, how was that experience for you?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be way more paranoid from on myself. I mean, we rehearsed for months beforehand. I mean, you know, one or two every other week type rehearsals or whatever, mostly to get used to the camera and get our actors ready to have a camera in their face all the time. You know, they've all had film experience, but it is nice to know who's on the other side of that camera. That was important for us. We all have the at least some sort of background in that. So comfort was a big thing. But for me, I was so paranoid about the performance that our prep work happened very early to where by the time we got on set, I handed off the directorial stuff to my AD team, who were fantastic. Allison Maxwell, my first AD, Joey's wife, was, I can't say enough wonderful things about her. And I mean, because I was, again, so worried about my performance that I'm prepping myself for a certain emotional scene that I'm stressing myself out for that. I didn't have to worry about the technical. I mean, literally on set, I made a couple of decisions. Like, you know, we hit that, we really need this, we want this, and you make the final call. And that's where I came into those conversations. Everything else was, you know, Allison had it. She was on it. So I got to focus on performance, and which was really great too, because like Fran and Reggie, for instance, Fran has such a different approach to acting, and Reggie has his approach to acting. So trying to, you know, let both of them explore how they work, their processes. And of course, I'm rusty as all hell. So their processes became my processes in specific scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the time we got on set, it was, the crew was getting ready. I could sit there with the actor I was playing against, and we could just either, you know, sit there and shoot the shit, or, you know, Robert's on set the whole time. We asked him to come on to be the military advisor just because him and I got along so well, and we can swap war stories. I mean, you talk about how these relationships are coming across on film, but a lot of that had to do with everyone was seeing it all the time. Robert and I were those war buddies kind of telling those stories, and we brought Reggie into that, and he's soaking up all this information from us, and you know, he was one of us, so the three of us are standing around in uniform. To me, it wasn't any different than being actually wearing the uniform for real, you know. And it was just, it really was great to do our work beforehand, because we only had 2 days in that location. 12-page script, so you know, you're looking at the 6 pages a day or whatever. And we, again, it's not perfect, but we got what we wanted to, and I think the story's intact. Like I said, the feedback I get, the mistakes we made along the way, they don't matter because the story was good. So,
well, listen, that's for you to notice, for us not to notice. Don't even worry about that. I mean, honestly, I love that. Again, I think coming from an authentic place, people that have actually had these experiences. You know, there's so many amazing, talented veterans in front of camera and behind camera. And, you know, I think it makes all the difference when, like you say, this is just like you with one of your war buddies, like, you know, you've experienced things together. It saves a lot of time because you've actually felt and been in that place and that experience. You know, on top of that, I'm just curious from both perspectives, like what's the reaction been sharing this with people that you serve with, to a wider audience? What's that reaction been like? We certainly loved having it at New Filmmakers, part of the Veterans Program, but tell us a bit more about that experience for you.
I've always been a lot more nervous about what the people I know are going to say, because there's a military folks tend to have less of a filter. Like, I'm doing everything I can right now not to cuss every other word. I don't usually, but whenever I'm trying not to, it works, right? But you know, when as people, you know, and you know, you come from a world where you literally just give each other flack all the time just to give that person a hard time. I was really expecting, you know, and again, I think that's why I was preemptive of, hey, sorry, you're going to watch 22 minutes of my acting. But it's really been the opposite. You know, these guys have, you know, the worst I've gotten is a F you, you made me cry.
Yeah.
Like, good.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to elicit an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been really, really warm, really receptive to it. People who I haven't even spoken to since I left the military are suddenly reaching out, finding me on Facebook or whatever to add me, you know,
Right.
just so they can comment or, you know, send me a message of, hey, I just watched your movie and damn, you nailed it. Like, good job, you know? So,
It must feel
and
amazing.
tell me I made them cry.
That feel amazing, Kevin? That must feel amazing.
I have a really bad imposter syndrome. So yes, it feels amazing. It's helping me clear some hurdles in my life, but at the same time, yes, it feels amazing. I'm terrified every time. Every time someone sees it, I'm terrified. So
Well, don't be too terrified, because we had it at New Filmmakers LA, and like, you know, obviously, you know, we loved it, and it stood so well in this program. And of course, we, you know, we celebrate everybody from everywhere all year round, but it is special when we can have a special dedicated program to very talented veterans, you know, with related stories, but also, you know, talented veterans too. And that was special to have you part of that particular program. And we had so many veterans in our audience, and, you know, we've still getting feedback from your film and others in that program. So, you know, this is great. All I can say, Kevin, is, you know, I know you've obviously not done too many films, but please keep making more work. And which leads me to finally say, what's next for you?
it's funny you should mention that. While we were shooting, we're working on a documentary right now, and while we were doing that, there was a lull in the amount of noise happening at our location. But you know, Joey asked me the same thing. So what are we doing next? You know, I've been working on the feature for Coming Home.
Right.
I bounce around between ideas a lot, but I think what we might be doing next is a short feature.
Oh.
Kind of a comedic, mild action movie about a hitman who's hired to kill himself.
Oh.
So dark comedy type deal, but I think that might be the next one we're gonna roll with. Kind of hammering out the rest of the feature now. And by feature, I mean it'll probably be over 45 minutes, but not enormously long. And then the studio is always busy. As I said, we're working on a documentary right now. We got a few other things going on. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you'll hear from us again at some point.
I hope so. Yeah, features, short features, shorts, whatever it is, keep bringing it back. I mean, you know, I mean, just feel good though, Kevin, because if you can do this after you know, the first few films, then, you know, look what's going to get in store for you in the future. And
I give Joey all the credit. I mean, I have bad imposter syndrome, but he has believed in me from day one. He's the one who said, I want to make one of your movies. Yep. He's the one who talked me into acting in the thing. I don't know if I've forgiven him for that one yet, but yeah, I mean, he's been very, very supportive, as well as family and the vets, man. These guys that I was with, even guys I didn't serve with. One of my buddies shared our link for a fundraiser on a vet page, and people just started donating. They didn't know anything about it. They just, you know what, screw it. Let's see what this guy can do, you know? So hats off to the vets.
Well, thank you to you, and thank you for everyone that supported your film, and thank you for everyone that is you know, within that you've worked with and served with. You know, this is all, as you say, a team effort. Thank you to Joey as well. And so, you know, we really appreciate coming home, and just keep making more movies, Kevin. That's all we can ask of you.
Thank you, Danny. I will do my best.
Yeah. Awesome.